So we were getting a base ready for putting the clay head, or the clay head on top of. So when we start the molding process, the clay or the silicone doesn't drip off and go on the floor and stuff like that. Let's see how we did this here. So you can see at the bottom here, right, this area, that's what the threaded pipe was attached to. And then we built the base off of that so we could have the silicone once we get all the walls and stuff built around the edges and stuff. You can see with the pencil marks I have there where to build up the clay, so it's a wall, a barrier essentially for the silicone. And then you can see I was adding a bunch of gonads and stuff like that here and there. That's for attaching pieces later on, so the molding process wasn't too complicated. So this is the front of the helmet. These are just little pieces here and there. So what you can see I did here is I scratched out for the visors, so I know once I finish molding where to cut out the visors every time I pull out a casting. And you can see I was building up the wall here along the base. And there's the finished wall. So then I had to build up a clay, just a little bit of clay on the bottom of the helmet, because the silicone would have seeped through under and got below the base here. That would have been a mess to clean up. Try to avoid that as much as you can. So this is when I started the molding process. Just like last year, I was using the Polytech Tinsel 8030 silicone. Part A, this is part A, part B. So I started with one layer, brushing on one layer to get the detail and stuff like that. Always the first layer, just like I explained last year. And then here's the second layer, just building up 2 base layers before we start adding the parting line. So here you can see I started with the parting line. The parting line, I don't know if you can see it too well, but the plastic here, we used that projector plastic, you know, that you write with the vis-a-vis on. So we used that, and then we took a little pill, I don't know what they're called, but like something to do with pills, as keys, which will come into part later when we have the 2 halves of the mold.
Right.
So then I gradually started building it up around with the keys. On the back side. So then, I think this is the last picture I had. So the last time I was there, I finished building up the parting line, and so I built it up a little higher so we could add thickness to the mold. I brushed on a pre-layer of silicone onto the parting line, so it touched the mold and it got just like a base around the helmet on both sides. So the reason we're doing the parting line in the middle is so we don't have to cut through more silicone later, because parting lines get ugly when you try to cut them yourself. So try to make them as, you know, the less cutting the better.
So is that like a perforation kind of thing for later? Just
yeah. So what this is, we'll build up a bunch of layers on each side, and with that's basically a barrier to prevent the silicone from touching, because dry like cured silicone will stick to you know, curing silicone. Chemical process of silicone is weird, but it's the way it is. So we're trying to avoid the bonding of both sides. So they won't touch later. So that's the end of this project. So far, there's a lot more to do still, which I'll be working on with my mentor during the summer and more on. So.
And will you continue to add that to your blog then and document that process?
I'll continue to work on my blog and stuff like that. So that's this project so far. Let's see here. So another project I worked on was an anodizing plug. So this was for my dad's company. Basically what this is the part right here, the plug's already on there, I can't get it off, but the part you see in black needed to be covered from certain anodizing, like the black you see on there. So we needed to make a plug for it. So what we did is we kind of did a reverse mold, because the silicone is usually what the mold is made out of, but this time we used resin, the Easy Flow 60 resin. So we took one of those plugs, we put it in there, we kind of built clay basis around it, and then we, you know, filled certain spots with clay here and there. And then what we did is we filled up the outer side with this resin, and then when we pour the silicone, this is the basic shape that comes out right here, and then it fits right inside of the anodizing piece. So that was a fun project because we had to make a lot of them.
So what was that? What was the use in your dad's company for this design?
So the use for it was to make it a plug, so anodizing didn't get on certain parts of that piece. So here you can, I'm just going to scroll through here so you can see the pictures.
So your interest in prop making transferred into being able to help your dad.
Just, yeah.
That's,
I mean,
that's
just
cool.
to build up the skills, like
yeah.
My projects were just to, you know, keep the skills going.
And how many of those did you have to do?
Somewhere in the hundreds, I think. I mean, he had people from his shop help make them too, so I mean, I wasn't the only one. So this is just mixing up some silicone. So that's what the plug looks like without the piece on there, the part. And then we tried another silicone, a harder silicone, to see what would work better with the anodizing, because the softer silicone, which is the 80-30, use all the time, but the softer silicone protected the piece more than the 40, or I can't remember what that was, 73-30 or something like that. So that was that project. I actually enjoyed doing that too.
Were you surprised that the soft silicone was the better choice, or did you have a prediction?
Yeah, I thought the harder silicone would have worked a little better. I mean, just because when it's formed on the piece that it's trying to protect, you know, you'd think that it's going to do better than the other piece, the softer wood. So here's this project. I just called it Miscellaneous Projects for Fun. Just to keep, like I said, to keep my skills. I don't want to have perishable skill. So that's what this mold is right here. You'll see as I go along here, the tomahawk mold is how it comes along. So I built the clay around there for the 1-part mold. This is a 1-part mold. So yeah, this is, I didn't get any pictures of pouring silicone because I was the only one there, so I couldn't really get some pictures, but so this is the way the mold turned out, if you want to look at it. I haven't poured any castings of it yet, just haven't had time to do that yet, so. So, some other projects I have done is this project, which I actually have to say this is like one of my favorite miscellaneous projects. My grandfather gave me a 50 BMG, a used 50 BMG shell, and he told me to make a mold of it. So I took 4 of them and I put them in a cylindrical bucket, and I poured some silicone, made it, and this is the casting 50 VG.
Oh wow.
And then me and my dad, whenever we have leftover silicone, we always like to pour some extra stuff. This is a 300 blackout round, and again we poured it in like a little cylindrical cup. So this one right here is to go along with my suit that I'm making to go along with the helmet. This is from the game Dead Space, like I said, the inspired part of that. So what this is basically, it's just like a little doodly doodad that goes on the back. So this is a project I did over the summer that I wanted to bring just to show that I was doing some stuff over the summer with trying to keep the skills not gone. So what this is a grenade. This is what the mold looks like. And those little Allen wrench keys, those are the keys so the mold can fit together. And what this piece is a vent, so when we're pouring it, because we have to hold it like this so we can pour it through the pour spout, it allows air to come through so it doesn't get stuck down here and it doesn't come up the into there. So this was the master I used for that mold. And this is the finished product. This is the pour spout. I have to cut this off. I already cut off the vent, but this is how it came out. So that's the mold and prop making side of my project this year. The drawing side, I can get some pictures here. So you've seen my designing here of the helmet. Originally what I was wanting to do this year was make a suit. So I was originally wanting to make kind of like a space suit, so I gave like some concept art. I drew some concept art of one I wanted to make. But there were some time constraints we had, so we wanted to focus on one project to make it simple. So I'll let you look at that there. And then, so I've been reading in some books, some basic drawing books and stuff like that. Here's what I've been drawing in a lot of, just for basic stuff. So it started out with like basic shape drawing. So like what you do is you draw like a oval here, an oval there, you know, basically like that, and then triangle kind of, and then draw around it, make the shapes of the animal or whatever you're drawing, and then you would erase the shapes and then perfect the lines and go from there. So there's that. So this is where I'm starting to get into the concept art of my projects. I was designing a bass, because I play a lot of bass guitar, so I was designing a bass. So this is the headstock of the bass, and this is the first fret. And then here, down here's the bridge, and the pickup, and then the basic shape. So then here's the outline of what it was gonna look like. And then I started drawing human, kind of moved on from the animals and kind of started doing the human body. And then I was just doing some concept art for like a just kind of stage thing I wanted to make. Like you want to look at that? That's the like a spaceship capsule. So, I mean, this was just me doodling around, but this is basically the outside of the capsule. So then, again, I was playing around with basic body shapes, just drawing like robots, kind of, you know, basic things like that, just to get trying to perfect my drawing skills and detail. So then again, here I drew this, kind of like an eye, and then I kind of drew like the LEDs behind the screen kind of thing, with light. That's it for my drawing side. I gotta say, I've enjoyed this program a lot. E3 is definitely a great learning experience. I mean, you know, when you get the sit down for a little. When you get the chance to learn something you want to learn, it's worth it. You know, I hate how, you know, you're supposed to do this, and this to graduate. You're not learning what you want to learn. That goes towards your specific career. So, I mean, that's where this program is definitely better than a lot of programs. So I mean, I enjoy this program. I definitely want to come back next year more than anything. So this is a great program. So this is my intended career field. But if not that, I was wanting to join the armed forces and the Air Force, do my time in the enlisted area, doing the pararescue, and then go to college, join an Air Force ROTC program, and commission as an officer to partake in the UAV program they have. So that's my presentation of learning. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Any questions?
I think I asked my questions all the way through. Thank you for allowing me to do that.
I do have one question that I'm just sort of curious about is the mold work that you're doing is very technical. The artwork that you're doing is less like technical drawing. When you showed the first sketch, I was expecting sort of technical drawing that would explain how you're sketching out molds. And the artwork that you're doing is a lot more creative, and it's clear that you're creating things. I mean, sometimes you're replicating things that exist, and with the helmet, you're creating things. So tell me a little bit about your creative process. Like, are you imagining a lot of these ideas and sketching them out and then trying to realize them as molds? Or
so yeah, what I do, like for this project in particular, I play a lot of a game called Dead Space, and the basic shape of the helmet is from the game, but everything else is my imagination.
Okay.
So that's what I was getting at when I was drawing that, the concept art for that. A lot of the time, yeah, I do draw stuff that I want to create, more so than replicating things. So that's...
So right now you're mastering the skills that will allow you to replicate, but like your long-term goals, you're kind of thinking it would be fun to start taking basic ideas and creating beyond those, right? Yeah, okay. That's kind of what I thought, but it was a moment in the presentation where I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting drawings like that. I was expecting very technical, like, here's how I'm going to lay out the mold, that kind of stuff. So it was an aha moment for me about your own growth, right? And I look forward to seeing more of it next year, right? As the creative process continues. Yep.
I have a lot of drawing books too, like teaching me how to do that. So that's where some of those drawings are coming from too. Is I'm just starting to pick up on my drawing skills. So
yeah.
Are you going to be involved in the Maker Fairs again this year with Cal?
I'd like to do the Maker Fair again with Cal. I enjoyed helping him out with that. Yeah. It was pretty fun.
And if you were at the...
I was at one a couple of years ago. I wasn't able to make last year's because I was traveling. But.
Awesome Star Wars, like whole adventure space was awesome that his mentor's company had done. And I think you were there the whole time, manning that, weren't you? Pretty much. So.
Well, it's pretty interesting. You know, I've seen